So far we've talked about kind of my responsibility to you, and now we've got two things that you are responsible for, two responses to good preaching. The first thing is that you would follow Jesus. Right? It says in verse 37, when the two disciples heard him say this, they followed Jesus. Turning around, Jesus saw them following and asked, "What do you want?" They said, "Rabbi," which means teacher. "We want to be your students now. We want to follow you and hear what you have to say." So they said, "Where are you staying?" "Come," he replied, "and you will see." So they went and they saw where he was staying, and they spent that day with him. It was about 4 p.m. These disciples of John became disciples of Jesus. They followed him. They wanted him to be their teacher, and they spent time with him. They actually became his full-time disciples. So now what are you going to do? You hear the word, you hear the preaching, you hear the pastor preaching, pointing you to Jesus. A good response to that would be to follow Jesus. Not just on an hour on Sunday morning, but then go out into your daily life and realize what it truly means to follow Jesus, to live according to his word, speaking and acting in the way that he has taught us to, caring for people, working with integrity, showing love to one another. Your response to biblical teaching should be to follow Jesus. The second response is to spread the word. Verse 40, it says, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of the two who heard what John had said and who followed Jesus. The first thing that Andrew did was to find his brother Simon and tell him, "We have found the Messiah," that is the Christ. So Andrew, who would later become a full-time follower of Jesus, thanks to John's teaching, he says, "I can't keep this message to myself. I have to spread the word." And whom does he spread the word to? His brother, Simon. You probably know him better as Peter. That means then that Peter's lifelong journey of following Jesus began when his brother spread the word to him. When his brother came and said, "You have to see this. We have found the Christ. We have found the Messiah." That's a response to good preaching, is spreading the word. Now today there might be a number of different things that you feel perfectly comfortable recommending to a friend or to a family member. You got to read this book. You got to see this movie or this TV show. You haven't caught up on, I'm already on season 2, you better catch up. Or a podcast or a restaurant. You can make recommendations for all sorts of things. Well, what if you recommended to your friends and your family your church? You went to them and said, I think you really would enjoy this. I think it would help you. I think you should come and just try out my church just once. The preacher isn't the best public speaker in town, and the production value isn't all that high, but the preaching is good because it's all about Jesus. Amen. So shall it be.